At my college, we have an app where we can communicate with different people at our college anonymously and give advice to each other. And one of the questions that came up on that app was, how do I make more friends as a student here? I posted my pieces of advice and it seemed to gain a lot of traction. So I thought it would be helpful to share it with everybody here today as to how to easily make more friends in 5 simple ways. Hi, it's Michael and welcome back to my channel. And please stick around to the end to see the most important way that you can learn to make more friends and be happy with your social life. The first tip is the most obvious, but it is to join clubs or social groups. Joining a club or social group is a guaranteed way to communicate with other people. And joining a club that particularly sparks your interests, whether it be a pre-professional club, a club that involves some sort of hobby, or a sports club, can be an opportune way to meet different people from different backgrounds or people who share similar interests with you in that specific sector. Every school tends to have a club fair at the beginning of the year, and that's a great way to not only learn about everything that the school has to offer, but to also try different things that you may think you like, and then meet people with similar interests who you could eventually become close friends with. Step number 2 is to put in the effort to talk to new people. In particular, I used to have this really bad habit of having a very upset face when I would see people that I recognized. Particularly when I saw people that I recognized, I wouldn't acknowledge it with my facial expression. I would simply sort of wave or mouth hi to them. But one of the best ways to communicate with people and show that you are that you are a kind person who is not trying to be mean to them is to simply recognize them when you make eye contact and say hi and their name if you remember it. Doing this is something that's going to make your outward appearance more friendly, and it's also going to make people less averse to talking to you or coming up to you, because I know you'll probably agree that if you see someone who has a super upset face like this, when they see you, it's not going to give you the impression that they want to talk to you. But on the other hand, if I made eye contact with somebody and I put a smile on my face, it would be making me more approachable to that person, and also would provide me the opportunity to approach that person and start a conversation if I was in the mood. The third tip is to make yourself more interesting. In other words, it took some time to figure out an answer for myself to the question, what do you like to do for fun, or what are your hobbies? Because it's easy to say something like watch TV or play video games, but that doesn't improve yourself in any way. That doesn't provide any additional knowledge to my life that will contribute substantially to it. I had to take the time to figure out what I like to do with my life to improve it, and something that would be reputable. Saying something like video games or watching TV tends to be a leisure activity that doesn't really add much to your life, and it tends to be the sign that you don't have anything to do with your life. So saying something like that isn't really a good indication that you're an interesting person to another person that you're interacting with. Finding hobbies such as music, sports, different activities in the realms of photography, baking, cooking, stuff along those lines makes you a much more interesting person to interact with, because it also gives you another thing to talk about and a hobby that you might share in common with another person. In addition to that, reading in general will provide you more knowledge than simply intaking random videos online, particularly short videos that rarely stick in your brain, and will provide you with more intellect and make you a more interesting person to have a conversation with on a wide variety of topics. If I were to read a book that would make myself more interesting in an interaction, it would be How to Win Friends and Influence People, which is the quintessential book that basically every successful person has read. So I would start with that if I wanted to read about that in particular. But there's a wide range of books, and anything that would suit my interests would be a good start on that path to learning more about the world in general and trying to expand my knowledge so that I can become a more interesting person to converse with. And besides that, in terms of being more interesting, there's also the idea that you should be more interested in the other person. If you're only talking about yourself in a conversation, it's a huge sign that no one is going to want to spend time with you, because everything revolves around you in that case. If I were only talking about myself for the entirety of a dinner conversation and the other person never got to talk about their life or their things that they want to talk about, they probably wouldn't want to spend time with me ever again. And thinking along those lines often helps me to remember what the point of me meeting with that other person was. Again, it's not that I want to particularly make the other person speak the entire time in a conversation, but it is important that I listen, and I listen to what they're saying with intent, rather than listening to follow up with some other story that I was thinking of in my head to follow up after what they said. Listening with that sort of intent is what makes people really like to hang out with you, because they feel like they're listened to and they feel respected when they're with you. So taking that time to listen to other people and to provide myself the opportunity to slow down, calm down, and to listen to what other people have thought about in their life and how they live their life has made myself become more interested in other people, and has made them like hanging out more with me because I actually give them the time to talk about what they like to do. The fourth tip is to learn not to spend time with people 24/7. In particular, I think there's this big notion that people want to spend time with people all the time, like whether it be eating or doing work or doing an activity or at night or during the day. It's very difficult to schedule time in your day to hang out with different people or to spend time with a person all day without getting extremely tired, because in the first place, hanging out with other people means that you're focused on the other person rather than your own goals and your own work that you inevitably have to do in your life. But it also means that you do not get used to spending any time alone. And it depends on your lifestyle. If you have grown up with siblings, or if you haven't, you may have different experiences with this. But spending time alone is quintessential to not only growing up, but also to adult life, where you're going to have a lot more time dedicated to doing other things rather than spending time with friends. And learning to spend time alone and learning to be okay with that and learning to be happy when you're alone is one of the most important factors in having a great social life and having a great friends, because you're not always desperate to spend time with other people. Again, it's nice to live with other people, it's nice to have a community with different people, but it's important to also know a limit and to know when to spend time with yourself, to give yourself time off, to give yourself something that you want to do by yourself so that you can feel recharged, you have time to do what you want to do with your life, and you can come back to your friends with more energy to listen to them and for more energy to have fun with them than you would if you were always spending time with other people. Also, a quick tip in terms of hanging out with other people: if it's a one-on-one thing, it's easy to text them, but if I was trying to make a group occasion or a bigger event, what I would do is I would text the friend that I'm closest with who I'd want to come to that event to plan it with me and to agree to do that event with me, and then I would, depending on how big the group is, text one more person that me and my good friend were doing that event and invite them, and then if they said yes, then I could say to a whole group chat of different people that us three are going to that event and that the rest of them should come. Because in that psychology, that makes the rest of the people want to come because there is a planned event that is occurring, and the brain will attach some sort of urgency to that event that will make them want to go to that event. This is much more effective than texting a simple group chat of a bunch of random people that you want to plan an event and then nobody backing you, even the people who are closest to you, because it's an uphill battle with that sort of environment. The fifth step to making friends is to realize that a lot of the times you're going to have friends in different environments. For example, I have different friends that I would ask about academic stuff as opposed to friends that I would go out to dinner with, or friends that I would ask about my personal life with. In general, it's important to realize that a lot of friends fit into different categories. For example, in high school, our friends were mostly just in school, and in some cases we would invite them to hang out outside of school, and those would be our good friends. But outside of high school, and when we go into a different setting such as college, there tends to be different friends for different activities, such as club friends, sports friends, people who we like to spend our weekends with. All those different types of people have their different purposes in our life, and they see us as having a different purpose in theirs, and it may be difficult to get people who, for example, only spend class time with you to get merged into another setting that they usually don't spend time with. In general, that is a possibility. If you like spending time with that person, you can always encourage them to spend time with you in another setting, but in some cases, friends may stick to one specific area, and so it's important to realize that a lot of the times friends will be sequestered into one environment unless there's some effort put in to make them expand their horizon in their mind into a more close friend of yours. So it's important to realize that a lot of the times friends will stick to their different areas of your life unless you specifically invite somebody to join you in a different setting or different occasion, and then the relationship or friendship would sort of evolve outside of that realm. Again, a lot of the times people are nice, but it's the initiative that you have to take to get that friendship going or to get some social events going. So in the times I felt alone in my life, or the times where I felt my social standing wasn't as great as it could be, I took the time to ask other people to do different things, and in most cases those events did go as planned. So if you feel like you're alone, the most important thing that you can do is to put effort to plan different events and to make an effort to meet people outside of who you already know. Also, having no friends is better than having bad friends, and having one good friend is better than having many acquaintances. So if you're living your life and you feel like your friend is not someone who supports you, not someone who you feel comfortable with, or someone who drains the energy out of you in a bad way, then it's important to distance yourself from that person so that you can evolve and make new friendships. Also, if you feel like you're in a group where no one really cares about you or no one really seems to want you there as much as you feel that they should, then maybe it's important to focus on finding one close friendship than trying to make a bunch of friends from a bunch of random people who you don't hang out with as much or enjoy as much as you would one person who is closer to you. Again, social life has a lot of different perspectives. Friendships have a lot of different perspectives in our lives, and so many times we're focused on the perspective of where we stand in popularity or the social scene, engaging where our life should be and where our social life should be in different lenses or perspectives. But friendships are something not to be taken for granted. I know a lot of the times I expect higher of myself in terms of different social aspects, but learning to love spending time alone and learning to love hanging out with the people who I already know and the people who I already trust, on top of planning events and doing stuff that I think is fun and trying to plan events that are fun with other people, has made me really happy with how I am with my social life as it stands. And I hope that this advice helps anybody in whatever place they are in their life. Thanks for watching. Be sure to like, comment your favorite tip, and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.